Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association and did it in Giving Forward, but this is an E-Marketing Association interview. Holland and Maria from GOODQUES have joined me. I've got a bunch of questions about how marketing research is changing currently as a result of the pandemic, but just sort of what some best practices are for marketing research. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
My pleasure. So, I always think about, primary research is getting certain questions answered. And so what mistakes do researchers and business people and marketers make when they're sort of engaging in market research? Are there some common mistakes that are being made, either that you learn about when you're doing new business pitches or having discussions with prospects?
All the time. And I hate to say it. I think, and I'll let Maria take some of this too, but one of the most common mistakes that we made is brands want to know about consumers, right? All the time. It's consumer centric, human centric. You hear those buzzwords all the time. But when they go to learn about consumers, they learn about consumers just through the lens of brand, right? What do consumers like about my brand? What do consumers see in my brand? How often they use my brand? But consumers don't exist in a silo of your brand, right? And so one of the biggest mistakes we see is having only that lens and not looking at consumers as a whole, agnostic of your brand. We don't operate in silos of one thing. Like, I'm drinking a seltzer right now. I am not a seltzer version of Holland. I'm Holland all the time, now just drinking a seltzer, right? And that's something that's very common, and it's something that we course correct quite frequently.
Yeah. And just to add to that, an interesting point. So, how is primary research brought into the marketing brand world, right? It's borrowed largely from academia. And academia is very clinical. They are extremely buttoned up. They are extremely rigorous, right? As it should be. And Holland and I are actually going through the process of getting our master's in psychology now. So we know clinical academic research through and through, right? But when it comes to marketing research, you start to be able to push boundaries and to be able to think about research slightly differently. And what's interesting is that very few companies have done that. And so the research questions, for example, are still quite clinical, quite dry. And when you think about, trying to extract really interesting fodder from people, that's where you fall short, right? You get quite, what you put in is what you put out. So if your question is quite, uninspired, what you get out of that will be uninspiring.